Imagine, for a second, a beautiful mahogany dresser inside a 19th century Virginia plantation house. And sitting right on top is a small, cobalt blue bottle. It looks completely innocent. Maybe it's holding rose water or some simple medicine. But for 17 long years, this little bottle held a massive secret. It held death, all measured out, drop by calculated drop. And this is the story of the woman who used it.
So picture this. It's 1889. A 64-year-old woman named Delilah Morgan is on her deathbed, and she's speaking to an abolitionist pastor, Reverend Thomas Butler. And the story she tells him, well, it's something that just defies belief. She confesses to a long, methodical, and patient campaign of vengeance against the very family that had once owned her.
7. You heard that right. That's how many people she confessed to killing. And this wasn't some single act of rage. No, this was one by one by one, over almost 2 decades. The entire bloodline of the Whitmore family, from the master of the house all the way down to his last unborn grandchild.
Her plan started way back in 1844, and it didn't end until 1861, right on the brink of the Civil War. Now just let that sink in for a second. 17 years of this single-minded, calculated purpose, all while she was living under the same roof as the people she planned to kill. So you gotta be asking, how in the world did a 19-year-old enslaved woman pull this off? How did she become one of history's most patient and effective serial poisoners? And maybe more importantly, why? What could possibly drive someone to do something so extraordinary? To really understand her, we have to go back to the very beginning.
Her secret all started with a deep, profound trauma, a series of events that would completely transform a young woman into, well, an instrument of justice. Or murder. It really depends on how you look at it.
Okay, to really get a grip on what Delilah did, we have to travel back in time to Ashland Plantation in 1844. We need to see the world she lived in, not the pretty version on the surface, but the brutal reality for the 90 enslaved people who worked there. So the Whitmores, they had this public image, right? They were seen as kind, Christian masters. They threw these fancy parties. They were pillars of Richmond society. But for the people they owned, that was all a facade. It was hiding this brutal system of absolute power, a world where there was zero legal protection from any kind of atrocity. And this is what set the whole thing in motion. In less than a single year, Delilah's mother was raped by her enslaver, forced to give birth to his child, and then had to watch as that 3-day-old baby was murdered on his direct order. Utterly broken by grief, she took her own life. And it was Delilah, just 19 years old, who found her mother's body.